Hello, welcome back. My name is Charlie, and today I want to talk to you about my February TBR, which is made up entirely of Romantasy books. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you know that this is coming. I've been talking about this a decent amount, especially if you're over on my Fable, you know that this is happening. For essentially no reason at all, I don't typically find myself reading a lot of romance books, or really any romance books, but I have tried some romantasy books, so like romance set in fantasy worlds, and they've almost worked for me. I've read Fourth Wing, I've read Court of Thorns and Roses, just the first book of both of those series, but they were close. Like, they were both fine. I didn't have any issues with either of them, and both times I did feel like the romance piece was the piece, like the main piece, that I didn't really vibe with, but it was close enough that it made me curious. I want to try more of it, and my wife reads a lot of romantasy, and I want to experience more of it. I want to give it a shot, and I decided, for again essentially no reason, that February is going to be the month where I do it. I'm going to try to read nothing but romantasy books in the month of February. A couple of these are technically like romantic sci-fi, but I don't care about that. Close enough. I'm going to give it a shot. Romantasy, romantic sci-fi, whatever it may be. Romance books that are set also in the spaces that I like. There's a lot of these books out there in the world. A lot of books that fall under those genres. Romantasy, romantic sci-fi, or whatever. I don't know if that's actually a term people use. Romantasy is the big one. That's the big one that you hear about. It's kind of blown up as a genre in the recent years. I mean, it's always been a thing, but I feel like it's really like leading the charge right now, which is really cool. And I feel like for whatever reason, I'm just not like a part of that. And I kind of want to be a part of that. There's a lot of weird rhetoric around romance books in general, but I feel like, at least in my spaces, I keep seeing people talk about romantasy and how it's like not written for men, and like men can't enjoy it. And I think that's stupid. I can't imagine that that's true. But I'm kind of being part of the problem by not reading any of it, so I want to stop doing that. I have nothing against these books, and again, the ones that I've picked in particular sound really good to me, but there's a lot more outside of what you're going to see in today's video that I think sound really good. So anyway, without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into the list, and I'm going to start with this book right here called The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I'm starting with this one because this is the Charlie Read a Book Buddy Read Book of the Month for February. I think I've probably announced that by the time this video goes up, but if I haven't, surprise, this is what we're reading this month. This book seems to be about, I assume this person right here on the cover, Sybil, who is like what do they call her? Like a diviner or a diviner? Whatever that is. She can see visions, and it seems like she works at like a cathedral, or that's where she's at. She's at a cathedral, and that's what she does. Is she sees visions, and it's her and a bunch of other people who have that same like ability, and they get these visions from these six figures that they call like the omens, and it's visions of, I believe, like events to come, like a little bit of the future, a little glimpse into what's going to happen for people. And then this knight shows up at the cathedral, and I don't really know what their business is at the cathedral, but he's there, and he's rude, and he's handsome, and I think that's going to be the love interest here. But anyway, they show up, and suddenly, unrelated, perhaps, the other diviners or diviners, again, I don't know what that word is, but like prophetesses, right? Shortly after the knight shows up at the cathedral, the other women that work there, along with Sybil, I don't know if they work there or they live there or whatever the deal is, they start disappearing one by one. And it sounds like at some point, Sybil realizes that she has no choice but to go ask this knight for help. And that's where the journey takes off. It sounds like there's a little bit of a mystery there, and then also like they have to like deal with gods in some way. I don't know if they gotta like fight a god to figure out the answers to their questions, or if they can just go like talk to them, but either way, I'm into it. It sounds to me also like it's a little bit of like a fairy tale vibe to it, like a gothic type of fairy tale, which I'm always really into. I'm hoping that I get that kind of like T. Kingfisher vibe, but maybe a little darker potentially. I don't know if that's how it's going to be, but that's what I'm hoping for. I'm not really sure what to expect, but I do think it sounds good. I know several people who've read this, including my wife, and they've all been really into it. So I'm really excited about this. I was hoping that this would win the poll, and it did, and that's great. So that is probably the only one from this list that I know 100% will be read in the month of February. The rest of these are kind of like aspirational, or it's not even aspirational. It's more like I will probably read 3 of these books, and I'm going to talk about 5, or I guess, again, 6. But yeah, this one for sure will be read. The others, it's kind of up in the air, and I'll be looking to you for help to try to kind of narrow me down here. Rachel Gillig also wrote that other duology, which is like One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, which also sounds really good to me, but I have this one in my house, so this is the place that I want to start with her work. But if I like this, I will absolutely be checking out more of her work, and One Dark Window sounds like it's really, really good. This is actually also planned to be at least a duology. I know that there is a second book coming out. I don't know if it's going to be more than just the 2. But that book, The Knave and the Something, that one comes out in, I believe, September. So hopefully this is good, and if it is, I'll follow it up with that. Again, this will be read as part of my buddy read, so if you are interested in joining in on this in the month of February, the link will be in the description. We're going to do it over on Fable like I do it every month. Looking forward to it. I'm also really interested in reading Reign and Ruin by J.D. Evans. This one I've talked about a few times on the channel, like historically. It's been a while, but it sounds great. This is a book that won SPFBO a few years back. I think it was like the 7th year that they did SPFBO, which is like a self-pub fantasy blog off or something like that. It's a competition for self-pub books that happens every year for the past 10. I think this is like the 11th year that it's running. Anyway, it won. I think it was the first romance or like romantasy book to have ever won the SPFBO, which is that's cool. Like I think it's typically a competition geared towards fantasy readers, not necessarily romantasy readers. So that's awesome. Like that's for some reason in my head that feels like that's high acclaim. Like it won over a lot of fantasy readers and brought them into the space. And I've heard that about this book, is that it's a great romantasy for people who aren't like into romance yet. Like it's a good gateway book. So that sounds like kind of exactly what I need. I bought this a long time ago on ebook, so I have it. It's been waiting for me since then, whenever that was, and I haven't picked it up. I have heard that this has a bit of a slow start, like it takes a while for things to get going, but then it really takes off. And I think that's just because there's like a lot of politics in this book. Like that's like the main focus is like the political maneuvering. And I think there's just like a lot of setting that stuff up, like setting the scene. I've also heard though that the prose is gorgeous, and that the magic is really interesting. The setting is really neat. I've only heard good things about this series, honestly. It sounds like the main premise of this book is that magic is kind of dying. Like all the magic in the world is dying and being replaced with like science and machinery. So obviously I don't know like the extent of that. Like why is the magic dying? How is the magic dying? Are people just not learning it anymore because they're instead learning science? Or is the actual magic somehow being sucked out of the world and being replaced by machinery? I don't really know, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued for sure. It sounds to me like our main 2 characters are kind of doing that like enemies to lovers thing. Like it sounds like one of them is this like chaotic, violent prince, and then the other one is like the opposite. And she should be probably running the show instead of him, but she's not. And I assume that's kind of where the drama comes in between the 2 of them. But then I assume also that they end up getting along very well. I've also definitely read in some of the reviews that the female main character is like a really strong and resilient and like a powerful female main character, and it's like a refreshingly so. Like, you know, we don't always get that in our fantasy books, and so that's really cool. I'm excited for that too. Sounds neat. I haven't heard a single bad thing about it. I'm all in. If you've been paying attention, you know that I am really into fantasy murder mysteries, and this book here, A Marvelous Light, promises to be a fantasy murder mystery with a good deal of romance. And not just romance, but queer romance, which I'm really excited about. I can't explain why, but for some reason, I think queer romance typically works better for me. You know, I love the Song of Achilles, for example, although I don't know if everybody refers to that as romance. But I also loved like that House in the Cerulean Sea and Somewhere Beyond the Sea, and that's also queer romance. And I've loved those. Like that is my romantasy that I've liked, I guess. And I don't really, I guess they're romantasy. I don't know how to use these terms. Anyway, this is what we're talking about now. Queer romantasy murder mystery. Love it all is all I'm trying to say. It sounds like our main character thinks he's getting appointed to like some government job, but then there was some administrative error and now he's instead showing up to work at some magical institution. And it also sounds kind of like he isn't aware that there was magic in this world until he shows up to work that day, which is interesting. And I also know that this is like it's kind of like a historical fiction piece of work as well, which I don't know that I'm going to know the history because I'm terrible at history. So I don't know that that's going to do anything for me, but it's, I think, a true thing. So I figure I'll mention it. It's blurbed by TJ Klune on the back, which is very exciting to me because I just mentioned TJ Klune. I love TJ Klune. I've only read 2 of his books, but they were phenomenal. So that is high praise, if you ask me. He said, the prose is sublime, the world building is top notch, and the magic system is fascinating and unique. But what made me the happiest is how delightfully queer this story is. Robin and Edward have my whole heart. I also have heard from a few friends that have read this series and love it, that it is a really great effort in like introducing consent or like discussing consent in a romance novel. Again, I don't have a lot of experience in this genre, so I don't know if that's like typically not a thing that we see discussed, but I think that's great that's covered here. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think it sounds great, and I've been kind of hounded to read this one for a long time. So really looking forward to it. If you want to hear more about this book from the person who has been hounding me about this the most, go to Lady Mair Reads. She's got a few videos where she talks about this series by Freya Marsk. So yeah, go check it out. I think it's very possible that those 3 books I just talked about are the 3 that I'm going to read in February. But if I somehow manage to read more, it'll be one of these next 3. The Darkness Outside Us is definitely a sci-fi romance book, but I am equally excited about this one. The basic premise of this one is that we're following Ambrose and Kodiak, our 2 main characters, who are on a spaceship headed off to go rescue some settlers on a distant planet. On their way to that planet, they realize that they actually have no memory of their launch, and weird things like that start to happen. Like, they don't know how they got on this ship. They know where they're going, it sounds like, but they don't know how they got here. And it seems also like they're starting to discover hints that somebody else is on board the ship, which is also really creepy. That last part makes it sound like it's kind of a horror-esque, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's more of just like a mystery, maybe a little bit thrilling. It sounds tense. It sounds like it's, not a horror book, but twisty and turny and mysterious and action-packed somehow. I don't know where that action is going to be, but it sounds like it's there. And all of that just kind of serves as a nice little backdrop for our main characters and their developing relationship. Pretty much across the board, it just sounds like this is a great example of well-written queer romance. Like I said, this is a sci-fi romance book, so that this is kind of check off 2 boxes, because I want to read more romance, but I also want to read more sci-fi. I really want to like sci-fi, so maybe this is the one to help me get kind of closer to that side of the spectrum. We'll see. Honestly, this is why it's so hard to narrow this down, because I really can only read so many things in a month, and this month is the shortest month of the year, and I also have so many people like coming to stay with me, so I don't know when I'm going to read anything. Like 3 even feels ambitious, but like this sounds really good. and the next one that I'm about to talk about too, like I've been wanting to read this next one forever. I don't know how I'm going to narrow this down. So I really do need people to sound off in the comments and like let me know what to prioritize. Again, Night in the Moth is definitely happening, but the rest of these help Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Maurier. This is a book that has been recommended to me for over a year now by one of you. I don't know if you even still watch my videos or if you've given up on me, because I haven't read this yet, even though I've been telling you I'm going to read it for a long time. Maybe I should just commit to this one this month too. At least it's right here, and I'm considering it heavily. In this book, we follow Sorcha, who is the seventh daughter in this family, and it sounds like something happens in her birth, or at least her early childhood, and her mother dies, and so it's just her 6 siblings, and her dad, and it sounds like they just have a lovely little family, and they all love each other very much. And then her dad marries somebody new, and it sounds like this new woman is like a little witchy or something, and she puts a hex on him and like curses Sorcha's brothers, and the only way to break the curse is for Sorcha to do something. I'm not really clear on what, but she can't talk until it's over. And if she talks, they all either disappear or they all die or something like that. The stakes are high, and not being able to talk is like quite what the word that I'm looking for. It's one of those. Not good. It's not good. It also sounds like while she's on this quest to save her brothers, she gets kidnapped, which that stinks too. That's a real bummer. But also somehow in being kidnapped, she falls in love. And so now she has to kind of decide between saving her brothers and being with this person that she has fallen in love with, which to me seems like save your 6 brothers instead of this one stranger you just met. But there must be more to it than that. I'm really intrigued to see how they sell me on that, on that being a difficult decision. But we will see. I have heard really good things about this, but I don't hear a lot about this because it came out, I think, in like 1999. So, not that long ago, but a decent amount of time ago. So it predates BookTube. Maybe that's why I don't hear much about it. But what I have heard is all very, very good. So very excited for this one. As with the rest of these, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I do think that maybe this one has to be included. We'll see. Now for this last book, I forgot this book existed, honestly, for a little while there. I was not considering this for the month of February at all, but then I went to the library to pick up a book, or like 40 books for my son, and I saw somebody was returning this, and I picked it right up off the counter, and I was like, no, don't put that back on the shelf. I want to take this home. The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. This sounds so good to me. So this is a YA queer romance, but again, set in a world with superheroes, so it's like, again, kind of like sci-fi, probably more than fantasy, but maybe a little fantasy in there. It kind of depends on the superheroes, if you ask me. But anyway, it's a guy with ADHD who like writes fan fiction. I think he's in school somewhere, and it says in the synopsis like, instead of doing his homework, he'd rather post his fan fiction online, and he's writing about superheroes. So it's like superhero fan fiction, but these are superheroes that are real in his world, right? So he's writing about them, and then at some point he happens to meet one of the superheroes, like his main like crush, if you will, and he kind of decides that instead of writing about superheroes, he wants to try and become a superhero. He doesn't have any superpowers, at least I don't think so. He just wants to become a superhero. So I don't really know how that's going to work, but I'm into it. I don't know. It doesn't sound like he's like a billionaire who's going to like build a suit or something like that, like a Batman or an Iron Man. Doesn't sound like it's that. Like, it's just a regular kid. It's not like I've never seen like romance between superhero and like a regular person. That happens constantly in comic books and things like that. But I always think it's fun. I think that's like a really fun dynamic, and it doesn't really get old for me. So again, I can't choose, but it's high on my list. The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune. It would also be the 3rd TJ Klune book that I have read. So exciting. And that is it. Those are the 6 books that I want to talk about today. These are the 6 books that I am considering reading for the month of February. Realistically, I will probably not get to finish all 6 of them, but stranger things have happened. We'll see if I can really focus somehow this month. Maybe I'll get to them all. Otherwise, I need your help. So help me prioritize these books. Write down the order in which you think I should read these, or like, which are the top 3 that you think sound the most interesting to you. If Night and the Moth is the number 1 pick, by the way, again, join the Buddy Read. The link is in the description below. Would love to have you join us. I am really excited for this little challenge that I've set up for myself here to try all these romantasy and sci-fi type books this next month. But I'm really hopeful that this can kind of launch me into this genre and make me feel more comfortable picking these books up. Like not comfortable, but make it so that I don't write these off just because of like a couple of bad experiences that I've had in the genre, or not even bad, but mediocre experiences that I've had. Historically, you get these TBRs kind of lumped in with my monthly wrap-ups, but I'm trying a new thing this year, or at least this month, where I'm trying to separate my TBR video and my wrap-up video into their own thing, because I think the wrap-ups just get really long, and for some reason, they just feel like different things to me. So that's what I'm trying this month. Today, you get the TBR, and next week, you'll get my wrap-up of January. So, we'll have started February already, and we'll be looking back into January. I think that makes sense, at least. Let me know what you think of that new structure, too. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next week. Bye.